Jeez, man. And we're live. Hey.
Hey, welcome to Drink, Spin, Run, an RPG talk show. I'm Don Stroud. And with me, as always, I can't get rid of him, Adam Miskevich.
I love your confidence tonight. It's really it's infectious, Don. I dig it. I dig it. Very, very pleased with that. Hi, I'm Adam. And with us tonight, we have two extra special guests for our season finale of Drink, Spin, Run. With us, as occasional, not as always, but as occasional, is Mr. Mike Evans. Mike, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great, sir.
I normally like to say the stuff that people know you for, and people I forgot that part when I was introducing you. You know Mike from the Wrath of Zombie blog and his hubris campaign setting for DCC and a bunch of other stuff that's trickling out, right? You got your Star Runners kit for White Star.
Yep.
What else? What else you got on the horizon, man?
Cyber Hack for Black Hack came out.
Right, forgot about that one.
And then Death is the New Pink for Into the Odd will be out soon. I have Jeremy Duncan doing art for that right now.
Very cool.
Fan-fucking-tastic, the stuff he's shown me so far. And then Barbarians of the Ruined Earth, which is for the Black Hack and inspired by Thundar the Barbarian, Wizards, Heavy Metal magazine. And I'm working with Matthew Adams
cool.
for the art on that.
Tonight with us, we also have Mr. Jason Sholtis, who you guys know from the Dungeon Dozen blog, the Zagorian Hippogriff something or other.
Oh, come on.
I don't remember the whole title. It's over there.
It was a zine I did called Zagorian, Lord of the Hippogriffs.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry. I just got Zagorian Hippogriff. That's all I got. What's the penthouse, secret penthouse of the something Playboy?
Your close secret party house of the Hill Giant Playboy.
Right. I think that was actually the first thing other than the Dungeon of yours that I read. So how are you doing tonight, Jason?
I'm doing okay, and I'm happy to be here.
You have some stuff coming up on the Horizon 2 coming to Kickstarter here in October. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, there's not a specific date set, but yeah, it's imminent.
Imminent.
And that is an adventure called Operation Unfathomable.
Yay!
And it is derived from my long-running campaign.
You've been slowly releasing stuff, like illustrations from this for a while. I mean, I want to say years, but
it's been years. The campaign we just had our 4th anniversary game this Sunday. It was fabulous.
Awesome. Very good. All right. Well, let's go ahead and we'll get right into it. And I'll start with Jason since you last talked. Jason, what are you drinking?
Well, here I have an audio moment. I am a Philistine, right? So I'm drinking Charles Shaw Cabernet Sauvignon, which is, $3 Chuck. They call it at Trader Joe's. So here's audio moment. I'm going to uncork it here.
Oh, there we go.
Love it.
And then decant it into... I didn't have my Scooby-Doo tumbler available from Burger King, so I'm just going to pour it into something here. I don't have actual wine service available at my home, so it's in a glass that I got from some beer sampling party.
Excellent. Mike Evans, what about you? What are you drinking?
I just got done drinking a local brew by a brewery called Rohrbach. It was their Oktoberfest, and now I'm drinking Sam Adams Oktoberfest.
Very good. Don, what about you?
I picked up something I have not seen in the stores until tonight, or maybe I just ignored it. Old Nation Brewing Company. They're from Williamston, Michigan.
Where is Williamston, Michigan?
I asked myself the same question. I did not take any time to look it up, but I've got Two Crow, which is a black sugar stout.
You love your dark beers, dude.
I like my dark. I'm so tired of IPAs, even though I used to love IPAs, that I've just been drinking Sizers and Meads and stouts lately. It's just hops. I'm so tired of hops. Speaking of hops, Adam Miskevich.
So, if
Ready.
I'm a complicated answer tonight because right now I'm just drinking shit. I'm drinking my cheap beer of choice, which is Miller High Life.
Gross.
And I tell this story. It's my cheap beer. What's your cheap beer of choice?
PBR.
I don't drink cheap beer. I just drink water.
You obviously didn't have a grandfather who didn't spend a lot on beer, and so you didn't steal his, high life from the basement like I did.
It's true. No one drank when I was a kid, or now. It's a very dry family.
We those of us who recall your part of the conversation on the Satanic Panic episode,
yeah,
might get a sense of why that was a driver. My family being very Polish, pretty much everybody drank, and it was only a big deal if you stole your grandfather's beer if they caught you or if they needed beer and there wasn't any.
Right. Yeah.
So that's when it got to be a big issue. But it was also kind of warm because it was just like kept in the basement. It wasn't warm. It was just like room temperature or
right.
Cascade is how they call it.
But before this, we had Katie and I had a bottle of wine because we picked one up yesterday at Little Man Winery, just outside of South Haven, and we went there yesterday, and there's a fantastic red called Big Lake. Probably not something you can find most places, but really good. Dry, very dry red with some smoky notes to it that I really.
Oh my gosh! So you can tell the difference, huh?
I can tell the difference. Yes,
I have the palate of a starving hyena.
There's advantages to that. You don't care, right? I mean, like here you go.
Not much.
I will tell you, I tried the $2 Chuck back or right after it became $3 Chuck, and I was not super.
You found it wretched?
I was drinkable. It was difficult to do, but it was drinkable. My wife won't touch it. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like yesterday, we actually we did a wine tasting, which was a lot of fun. I was like, oh, cool, we'll take this bottle with us. And we also sat there and drank 2 bottles of that same wine before we left. And it was a good time. It was a good time. And oddly enough, Stan, who didn't have any wine, he was the one who passed out. The rest of us.
Well, I'm so glad that you didn't pass out.
Yeah. So let's move right along, shall we? Let's go slightly Adam reverse order. Hey, Don.
Yes.
What are you spinning?
Oh man, what have I been spinning? Most of my answers just come from the car. Although I see all these great recommendations on Google Plus and the various rooms, and I'm like, man, I should listen to that. Never have time to just load it up. So long answer short, Social Distortion. I've been rocking somewhere between heaven and hell in my car for since Gen Con, I guess. Maybe before Gen Con.
That's a ways.
Well, I don't listen to it continuously. When I get tired of NPR.
Maybe you got to get your Terry Gross time in, right?
Yeah, Terry. Terry loves me, I'm sure.
Internalize that and it'll be good.
What are you spinning, Adam?
Oh, hey, cool. I get to go before our guests. That's neat. So I made Don listen to this the other day. I was listening to NPR, and they did a short story about this Ethiopian organist who was a band leader at a hotel in Addis Ababa in the 70s. And he just released an album that was a jam session that he did with another hotel bar or hotel bar band from another hotel in Addis Ababa. And the guy's name is Hailu Mergia, Hilumergia. And this stuff is phenomenal. Just really good, funky stuff.
You're gonna link it, right?
Of course, yeah. It'll be
cool.
be definitely all the music that we talked about is linked in the show notes.
It would have been funny if I had stolen that, because I totally did listen to that whole
and
album.
It was great, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was killer.
It's funky. It's the thing. That guy now, he is a cab driver in Chicago. But when your country gets taken over by an authoritarian regime and you're a creative type, you don't really like to stick around too much. So he got the hell out. Now he's occasionally releasing albums that he's carrying around on cassette, and he's just burning finding someone to remaster them and put them out. But fantastic stuff, really cool. So the other thing I've been listening to, I just started yesterday listening to this podcast called Drink Spinner. It's a good one. Yeah, I heard about that guy. Called the Black Tapes, and it's kind of like a paranormal investigation drama thing. That would be a hell of a lot better if it actually had good acting, but like people don't talk the way people do on this thing. They have that like stilted bad actor thing going on. So
where the dialogue isn't fucking real at all.
Well, the dialogue could be spoken in a way where you or I might say these things, but instead they're read off a page by someone who thinks they know what people talk like. And it ends up sounding super fake and phony. So instead of being natural, it's really it's stilted. But I saw Jennifer Bone mentioned it on G Plus, and she was like, "Hey, if you dig X-Files, you might like this." And I will say that I got so creeped out listening to this on my drive home last night. Katie stayed in South Haven last night, and I was here by myself. So Katie and Stan were gone, and I was here. And she had the day off today, so she got to have an extra day out in the fun place. But so I was alone, and I've just been listening to a bunch of like paranormal investigation, ghost story stuff. And I was pretty creeped out, so I had to.
All right, I'm gonna give this shit a listen to. All right,
but the act don't like get excited, thinking that the acting's awesome, because it's not. I'm also really like susceptible to getting. I love getting creeped out. I like certain thoughts, just stick with me, and I'll get creeped out by them. But the first story that they investigate in this thing was just enough. Just visual enough for me to cue into and enjoy.
Okay.
So hey Mike, what have you been spinning?
Well, like weird eclectic range of shit. I just went recently to Weird Al Yankovic concert, so I've been listening to him again.
That guy's a virtuoso.
Oh, I love him.
An accordion virtuoso, yes.
He is indeed.
He is amazing. And it was a great concert. He came up in the crowd and sang to my wife, which was awesome. I totally would have let him take her right there in a manly fashion and would not have been upset about it.
Except it's Weird Al, and I don't think he does anything in a manly fashion.
You're right. But he does it in like a me fashion, so that's totally awesome.
Yeah.
And then I just discovered a metal band. They've been out for years, but Russian Circles. So I never heard them before, and they were in Missoula, Montana, where I'm from originally, and they were phenomenal. And then finally, I've been listening to a lot of White Zombie lately for some reason.
I dip my toe in that pond about every summer. And once Jack Shear did the Planet Motherfucker thing a couple years ago, like he brought it up, and it was summer, and like so now everyone's like when it's just me, no one else is around, I might listen to some White Zombie. So nobody makes fun of me.
I am unashamed in my love of White Zombie, and I can even do Hellbilly Deluxe.
Oh,
I can do it. But the rest of his shit is god awful, and then it gets into the Scum of the Earth people, the offshoot, and they're embarrassingly bad.
Have you heard? You've heard their original, their first EP, right? Food of the Gods.
Actually, no, I don't think I have.
It's fucking amazing. It is the best thing they did. It's really like noise punk. And it's phenomenal. It's not at all like their later stuff. It is like it's really artistic and really good.
I'll have to look for that.
Whereas their later stuff is like theatrical, this is more like this is actually artistic and really phenomenal. I don't know, but it was that the band formed, with a bunch of art students. So that's how it goes.
Because I feel of it with that theatricalness, I feel like I'm going to start listening to more Gwar in like the next couple of weeks, which will probably make James Raji cry a little bit with everything that happened. But I think that's where I'm moving with that.
Jason, what have you been spending?
Yes. As far as new stuff, I'm so out of touch. I'm hopelessly embroiled in the past, and while drawing, I get on YouTube and I'm just cross-referenced from interest to interest, so I'm all over the map. A band from Australia called King Gizzard and the Wizard Lizard. Have you guys heard of them?
I know Lizard Wizard, but
oh my gosh, well, anyway, they're a kind of a psychedelic rock band from Australia, and the song that sold me on them was called Head On / Pill, and it's like a 16-minute long psychedelic freakout. And I normally don't go in for that kind of thing, like jam bandy kind of stuff, and that's not a good way of describing it. Because it's not like about musicianship individually. It kind of something I wish I knew when I was playing in like minimalistic alt rock bands years ago, is that if you have like a couple of mediocre players, if you want to add like dynamics and interest to the music, you add a couple more mediocre players.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, double that number. And so they have like
just keep going. Yeah,
they have like 9 okay players all playing together and coming together in a way that produces some amazing effects. And unlike most 16-minute psychedelic freakouts you could name, if you could name any, this like actually goes places. You know, it has like there's a structural payoff to it all. So anyway, that really impressed me, and I heard I've heard since a lot of their other material, and it is impressive as well. And they just have an interesting sensibility.
That's
to
good.
Describe. And other things, I've just recently taken off my black armband because of David Bowie's death, and so I was kind of obsessively spinning that stuff for a good while. And
I kind of avoided Bowie for a little bit because of like that spiral that we all went into back in January. I'm not going to say like I consciously decided not to listen to Bowie stuff, but I was kind of like, okay, you know, I don't want to say I burned out on it because I think that's kind of impossible, but you know, like let's broaden the horizons again. Let's listen to something that isn't Bowie for a little bit. And then yesterday I heard one of the tracks off his new album on the college radio station. I'm sorry?
Black Star?
Yeah, it wasn't Black Star though. I think it was that Lazarus song.
That's a fucked up video too.
Yeah, I saw that. I heard that on the college radio station in Kalamazoo as I was passing through last night, and that was pretty good stuff, man. I don't think there's like a single Bowie album that I categorically can say no good. Like everything is at least a little bit good.
yeah, I mean, I had to forgive him for the 90s myself, but
I liked the Outside album, like the but back then I got to see him like that tour he did with Trent Reznor.
Yes.
And that was such an amazing show, you know, because it starts off with
I don't know if it's aged particularly well. I had during this obsessive period, I did go back and look at like some concert footage from that period. I mean, his hair definitely didn't age well.
No, definitely not. No, that stuff, man.
Yeah, but the old guy jumping on the techno thing was hard for me to swallow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but you know, a lot of the 90s stuff or 80s stuff he did had some electronic stuff going on too, especially like the more shameful, you know, labyrinthy stuff was
Speaking of hair.
Labyrinth is great for what it is, but
I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about the music.
Yeah, right. His stuff afterwards was during that time. Yeah.
Sorry, David. That was not a hit in my book.
It
was a very awkward period.
So good.
What'd you say?
I said that soundtrack is so good. Come on.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's good.
Dance, man.
The 80s were rough.
You remind me of the child. Yeah.
The Babe. Come on. Get the lyrics right, dude. All right.
Yeah, I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Hey, Mike Evans. What are you reading?
Right now, I'm actually just ordered. Shamefully, I've never read it. I've never read any Jack Vance. So, gonna start reading Dying Earth. And I actually just started reading my friend's dissertation, which talks on. It is on Schopenhauer and how Schopenhauer influenced through Eastern philosophy, and philosophy shapes medicine. So it's just this I read the thesis statement in bloodshot out of my nose. So it's a 450-page document. It's gonna take me a while to get through it.
Yeah, I guess.
No, that's what I'm reading right now.
Okay. Hey Don, what are you reading? Oh, he's Mike is muted.
I'm here.
Oh, he's back.
I just finished. I'd never read this. Well of the Unicorn by Fletcher Pratt.
Oh yeah, I saw you post a picture of that.
Yeah, it was actually. I mean, it was cool. That shit was released like 6 years before Lord of the Rings, and it's like this total like this political weird romp. It was, I don't know. I quite enjoyed it. So then I moved on to. I've never heard of Joy Chant. Red Moon and Black Mountain. It's a book in the
Yeah, I remember that one.
yeah, and it's in the adult fantasy Valentine imprint. I'm making a point to buy all those and read them all.
Are you getting them from that guy in Ipsy with a bookstore out there like that?
Yeah,
Homes and
yeah. So don't go in there and buy any.
I'll stay away.
Good, thank you.
Are those all pretty ludicrously expensive these days?
It depends. I think I bought the Clark Ashton Smith, and they were each like $15. The ones that aren't super rare and hard to get he charges like $7 to $8 for them. So it's kind of expensive for like a used paperback that was printed in the 70s.
It feels expensive.
Yeah. I mean, but the art on the covers is just phenomenal. Like every single one is just, man.
And it's Lynn Carter doing his service to humanity, you know.
Yeah. He has a nice forward in every one that, talks about how he discovered it and how he felt and why he wanted to print it. It's pretty cool.
Neat.
I'm done. How about you, Adam?
Well, how about we ask Jason first?
Let's ask Jason.
All right, hey Jason, what are you reading?
So I'm not reading much. I find that like when I'm working on creative stuff, I don't, and my waking hours have been consumed with generating material, and when I'm in that mode, I don't take new stuff on board. So it's been a while. I have like the embarrassing pile of books that are like all open to like 50 pages in that are stacked on top of each other, none of which have been completed. So I'm in that mode right now. And then when I'm depressed and I'm not doing anything, that's when I read, So it's been a while since
Since you've been depressed?
Yeah, right. It really has. So I have little to add in that area. I mean, other than reading, articles on the frickin' internet.
Oh, that never counts. Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
It's never worthwhile, is it? I mean, so rarely. I read that there was an article the other day about primal beliefs and political affiliation that I thought was pretty enlightening, but I haven't read anything substantive in quite a while.
On the internet.
On the internet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Primal beliefs, you say?
Yeah, like is the universe just?
Yes. Okay.
Like, do people get what they deserve? And it was a really interesting, like breakdown along political lines. How do demographics believe certain things? And it basically said that Trump voters believe the way they do because they view the universe as hierarchical. Like, differences all mean that one thing is better and one thing is worse, and that the universe is just, so you get what you deserve. So if something is better, you earned it. So if you have money, you earned that money by being a valuable person, blah, blah, blah. It's all this absolute bullshit that really was enlightening.
Helps you sleep at night.
Just knowing that there is some logic to the stuff that I see that doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, that's all. That's it. So Don, I'll answer the question you asked me in a little bit.
Well, I just finished reading Trump's books, so.
Did you? How was it?
Fuck no, I didn't.
Did you read it?
I was gonna say, what's wrong with you?
There's nothing wrong with reading. There's nothing wrong with reading like political discourse you don't agree with.
No, that is true.
I can't tell you how many
I don't think Trump's book approaches being political discourse.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. It's just. And
if you've seen the ghostwriter who created that for him, he's got a bloody knife twisting it in Donald's back right now.
Yeah. Sorry, Adam. Go on.
No. If you want to read Trump stuff, do it, man. Just
it was a joke.
Doesn't make any more money off of it. There's my ethics for you.
No.
What is Adam reading? I'm reading a shitty book right now.
A shitty book.
I'm not happy with it. It's the book I'm reading right now. It's a Kindle book. What is it? It's called The Witch of Bracken's Hollow, which sounds like it should be good, right? Mm-hmm. It's by a guy named Evan Winters, but this is not good, man. I'm just not enjoying it. It's like I saw the author mentioned it on Twitter. It was free, and asked somebody who I follow, hey, read this thing. It's free, and so. Hey, give me a review if you have time. I'm not, obviously it's not going to cost you any money to get this thing for free. So I thought, I have literally nothing to lose. And then I realized I have my time.
Yeah, time is money.
That's or something more important than money or something. I don't know.
So are you one of those guys that will see it through?
I will see this through. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I haven't even gotten to the supernatural parts of it yet. I haven't seen this freaking witch, and this book is already killing me. If by the third chapter I haven't gotten to anything interesting, I am just not sold. It's also I'm totally not the target audience for this because it's talking about a Baptist retreat, and this is something I cannot personally identify with. I can't identify with a Baptist youth retreat in the woods. That sounds like hell to me. So Don, maybe you read it.
That's the first time I kissed a girl was summer
retreating
camp.
In the woods.
Nazarene summer camp, in the woods. Yeah. So I can totally relate. I'm gonna read it.
Yeah,
okay. It's not free anymore, so you got to pay for it. That's all I got. What were you saying, Mike?
I was gonna say I totally spaced. The other thing I'm reading is Tank Girl.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
What? Tank Girl? It's a comic book?
Tank Girl. I heard Paint Girl. And what the fuck is that? And then my brain immediately thought about Tank Girl. I was like,
Taint Girl is my own private literature that I will not talk about.
You just said Taint Girl. Wow.
Yeah, that's not what I said. That's even better. That's even better. Good. Well done. Well played, sir. Man.
Never read that. Impressive Jamie Hewlett art, though.
His art is fantastic. I really am enjoying the art. Taint Girl is when you need to pay for meth, but
Wow. All right.
Okay, Evans always classes up the show.
Yeah,
I do.
Comes here, talks about how he gets his math.
It's almost like having Bittman on.
Oh, jeez.
I'm just wondering what her power might be.
You know what? I'll commission you to draw it.
Good times. All right. Hey, we're on run now, right? Yeah, we're there. Hey, Don, what are you running?
I have not. I don't think I've run. The last time we recorded was right after Gen Con. I have not run any Dungeon Crawl Classics since then. I did play this fabulous board game, Eldritch Horror. Mm-hmm. I've talked about it before, I'm sure. Love it. Played that yesterday.
You lost again.
I lost again. We've lost 5 times. Who is providing that echo?
I don't know because I can't see a bar. I can't see a thingy. Hey, Mike, say something.
You're muted.
Hello?
Yeah, it is you, Mike. It's you.
Oh, it's Mike.
I don't know how that's happening. Nope, it's not him. Because it's still happening.
Weird.
Is it me? I'll mute.
Okay, let's see.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hello.
Jason, it's totally you. Oh.
That's weird.
You have headphones on.
Yeah. I don't know what to do. This never happens.
Really loud headphones.
All right. Is it me then?
No. Nope, it's not you. You're good, Mike. For once, it's not you.
I'm going to edit all that out.
It's like having high school flashbacks.
Jesus. What do you recommend?
All right.
Time?
So here's a new Drink Spin Run drinking bingo square, and it's been a long time coming. Don says I'm going to edit that out. That never happens. All right.
What do we recommend? I don't even know.
What? I don't know.
Yeah,
because you have headphones on, they're clearly working.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's just keep going, and maybe if we have an idea by the time we take a break, we'll sort out something then.
Yeah. So that's all I am running, which is kind of to say I'm not running. I think in a couple of weeks I'll start back up my DCC campaign.
Cool.
How about you, Mike?
I just got done play testing Land of the Spirits, and so I decided to move away from that. I have this weird thing that when I'm writing something, I don't want to play test it. I feel I get convoluted with writing versus running. So I started doing Barbarians of the Ruined Earth. So that's
running it.
Yep, started running that yesterday. Yesterday was the first campaign. That's the Thundar inspired one. So.
Oh yeah, I saw you post something about it.
It was fun as hell. Getting more familiar with like the intricacies of Black Hack and what works and what doesn't. And then just getting to see how my players react to such a minimalist system.
Cool.
How did they react? Come on, don't leave it from us. Don't hide these things.
They really.
This is why you're here.
I think that a lot of people don't like Black Hack in some ways because it is so minimalist, but that it's the roll under mechanic, which a lot of people kind of shy away from. And I think, Adam, you're not a fan of that, if I remember.
No, I'm not. But okay. I can understand it. Like I play a lot of rune quests, and I can, for some reason, it works for me in that context. But it still feels awkward.
I get you, and I feel like there's in some way because there's no escalation of it really. Sometimes it feels like there's like a glass ceiling in a way. But the other aspect that people have a problem with Black Hack is that the GM doesn't roll for monster attacks. It's all in the player's hands, and that kind of made me kind of like at first as well. But as I'm watching my players and they roll to attack and they hit and they get excited. And then I'm like, okay, it's the monster's turn, roll to dodge, and then they dodge, and they actually get excited again. So they're engaged the whole way of combat. So I really like that aspect of it.
See, I did too. I saw that. I thought it was really neat. I like the idea of I like games that don't make the DM roll dice if the DM doesn't want to. If I just want to just say, okay, this is the new thing you have to deal with, sort it out. That's different. I mean, as well, when you're saying like, oh, the monster attacks you, you're not necessarily like in Black Hack, you're not having them like, yeah, they're dodging, but you can interpret it so many different ways. It doesn't have to just be, oh, you dodge the monster's chomp. You can like play with the narrative of how that plays out so many different ways.
I do that as well. Like it was like batting with the shield or tussling with the monster and like crashing it against the wall. Like you can make it much more cinematic, but like
you can also put the player in control of that as well. Like, okay, the monster's coming at you, roll under here, and then tell me how you avoid its blow or not,
Right. And then the other thing that we were doing that I was kind of nervous about is we're playtesting my rules for alternative magic casting, which I took a leaf out of Barbarians of Lemuria page, and it's much more free-form casting and through conversation and negotiation. And my players did the player who's playing the sorcerer did really well with it last night, and it was a lot of fun and a lot of hilarity. So I'm really happy with it.
Cool.
Good.
And that's what I'm running.
Dan Domi wants to ask us, didn't second edition have a roll under? Yes, all of the ability checks and proficiency checks were all roll under in second edition, but that actually started in first edition with the Wilderness Survival Guide and the Dungeoneer Survival Guide. So when proficiencies were introduced, and then later in Oriental Adventures. There's your super technical answer.
The more you know.
Hey Jason, what are you running?
Hey, I'm as I mentioned earlier, still running the Operation Unfathomable campaign 4 years down the road.
Awesome.
We just had our anniversary session in which I cruelly trapped the players in a haunted house on the moon and then pitted them against many of the people that they and NPCs and monsters and whatnot that they had previously killed in a nightmare session, back to take their revenge. Still, I left that on a cliffhanger, so that's yet to be resolved. But they got the opportunity of these NPCs and creatures and stuff that they've met along the way. Finally got to spew some of their interesting and elaborate backstories that they had previously been killed before being able to deliver. So yeah, I was taking revenge. It was petty, but we had fun.
That's cool. I mean, you don't get to do that, right? I mean, that's not a thing that you normally get to do. You don't get to say, like, when they killed this awesome NPC before you had a chance for him to do his cool shit. You don't.
Which happens every time.
Yeah. It's so cool that you figured out a way to put that all in.
Yes, so totally self-indulgent, but it worked out. And I'm also running a campaign set in a setting called the Bewilderlands, which I'm working on with Paolo Greco as a. We're going to present that as a kind of a deluxe hex crawl thing down the road here.
Is that box thing we saw on June?
It is that box thing.
That looked really cool.
So yeah, I got a group together just by happenstance by signing up for Antigen Con, however you might pronounce that.
Anti-Gen Con.
I don't think it's Anti-Gen Con. I think it's Antigen Con.
Is it?
Oh. I don't know. Well, it's not. The philosophy is not necessarily anti, right? It's embracing it, and the idea was to include people in it who were geographically unable to attend or for whatever reason. Anyway, I got a group together via that mode, and we've stayed together. We're on the fourth session now, and so that's fun that's unfolded. And another group of miracle of G Plus is I've been blessed several times with this random selection of awesome players that just happened to show up, didn't necessarily know each other or me beforehand. And it's been a great group. So having a lot of fun with that.
Anyone you want to specifically say, hey, play with this guy because he's awesome?
Oh gosh, too many people to say that about.
That's good. I feel that way about when I like to do the actual plays for the show, and I like to invite our listeners to participate, so it's basically whoever speaks up first. And man, we have had such a great time getting a weird crew of weirdos together for this thing. And in the between seasons, I'm going to actually finally produce these things for release. But we did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness, and they ended up all having basically they rolled mutant lions, and just the weird synergy of these guys just playing together was just phenomenal. And it felt more like an 80s action movie than anything I've ever played in. It was so good. They picked up on that aesthetic and ran with it. It was great.
Yeah, I've had great luck with Google Plus as a weirdo aggregator, I'm playing in some fun games right now. Trey Causey is running a Planet of the Apes game that I'm actually missing right now.
I'm sorry.
I know, it's a huge bummer. And that's been a load of fun.
Trey will never forgive you, and I know that.
I have already begged for and received his forgiveness.
You should have got him on the show too, and then he couldn't even run it, and you wouldn't have missed anything.
It would have been nice.
I know next time you have you on the show, I have Trey on too, so you won't miss his game.
And it's an embarrassment of riches. I'm playing in James Malachewski's one of his TechUML games, which is something that had been on my bucket list forever. And it's great to be able to tick that off the list. And he's an expert at not only a confident and time-tested GM, but expert in the setting and presenting it to new players, which I'm still, even though I've owned the Empire of the Petal Throne, like the original TSR version for many years, I found it pretty impenetrable, mostly because of the accent marks that are on every fucking word. But So it's great to be able to do that, and with another really good group, really fun group.
I'm jealous of you there. I want to learn Tekkamel, and I have no idea how to get started.
First you must pronounce Muuglaviani.
Yeah, right.
you don't really have to.
You guys looked at the pedal hack for that?
I have, yeah.
Because
that was.
Go ahead,
Who's that written by? I can't remember his name, but Brett
Slocum.
Yeah, Brett Slocum. He comes to our local convention every year because UConn was the Tekkamel convention way back when. MAR Barker used to teach at U of M, and so there's a huge is a relative term. There are many Tekkamel events at UConn. I just need to freaking find one for babies and get in that one. Terrified.
It is terrifying, but it shouldn't be. I mean, it's.
I heard his approach with the pedal hack makes that more easy to.
It's not the game; it's the system. It's the universe. I mean, yeah. I mean, you read enough of it, and you can kind of make some headway. But I wanted to just relate a little bit easier.
Yeah, and the thing is that like any other game with any kind of setting, you don't need to relate that much. I mean that's how it turns out. You just throw yourself in and you learn as you go, and the depth that is there is available for the GM to use, and it can create cool effects and stuff, but it's not necessary that you master any of that stuff.
I've had a lot of people,
is kind of the same way.
Yes, as is Jaroon. I've had a lot of people just turn down playing Jaroon with me because of
it seems daunting. Like there's so much.
It seems daunting, but I don't think it's as bad. It has the same kind of root as Tekkamel too, so I think they're very interrelatable, since it's actual far future humankind goes out into the stars, and bad shit happens, and they get segregated from the rest of human empire or whatever.
Another game that I'm playing in right now is cool. It's Paul Wolf, who the Mystic Bull, is running a World War II white box game.
Oh,
which is neat. And
because you published that, right?
Not yet.
Oh.
No,
You're thinking of the White Star one that he did, the weird,
You're right.
the Nazi in space thing. Yeah.
This one he's playtesting, and it's kind of cool. He's kind of adopted from Paulo Greco's Gangs and Bullshit game, which we play tested at GaryCon. This mechanic of a week-long turn, so you can actually separate the party and go and do whatever, recon, gather intelligence, attempt to get supplies or whatever, and it's resolved in this week.
That's
period. Cool. Yeah, so it's neat. That's been going well.
Andrew Moss wants to ask, which do you guys think is more intimidating, Tekkamel or Glorantha?
I was more intimidated by Tekkamel just because of the philology on display there. The unpronounceability of those words. Although it turns out you can't pronounce them, but those fucking accent marks, man.
That's where my hurdle was with a lot of. I mean, if you can't pronounce words or your players can't pronounce the words, that's more important. If your players can't pronounce the words, they don't buy in.
That's a big thing.
It can be a barrier. I've discovered that in my Iron Coast game. So, Adam, what are you running? Yeah, so Iron Coast is 1 or 2 sessions long. Before we move, we're playing this next Sunday, and then probably the two Sundays after that. But by that time, I'm supposed to be moved already. So I might be just coming back for a day to play with these gents. But there's one word that they can't pronounce. No one can pronounce. And I think it's straightforward because I wrote the damn thing. And it's like an ethnicity, right? And no one knows how to say it properly. It's very frustrating to me.
Try it. Try us.
But, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spell it for you.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm going to put it in the chat here.
Yeah, put it in chat.
And you guys can tell me how to say that word. Whoever wants to go first. Don.
Ka-sataha.
Oh, that's close.
Sataha. See, I wouldn't put 2 A's in there.
I only do it for a very specific reason. Because if I'm going to put 2 A's next to each other, there's going to be a space between them, right?
Not necessarily.
That's why I'm going to do it. I'm not saying why someone else would do it, but I'm going to put a space between them.
So ka-sataha.
Ka'asataha, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the one guy who plays a character of that ethnicity cannot pronounce it, which is fun.
So does he always just call it, I'm from crap?
He's just kazazaza.
Well, you got to throw like an apostrophe between that.
But
two
apostrophe
A's.
means Elysian. It means that you push things together, not separate them.
What about a hyphen?
A hyphen could work, or some other thing. I don't know.
Or actually a space in between them.
If I was going to do that, then so it's I don't know. I'm kind of trying to evoke
honestly,
like a Polynesian, Native American kind of thing with it, and I don't know.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, like, also you look at a lot of their plaques and Native American plaques on reservation land or whatever. And there's all forms of accents on their words.
Yeah.
Like for that, I would definitely put a hyphen in between if you want to accent the one A between the next A.
Might happen in the next iteration of Iron Coast. Who knows? Oh, hey, speaking of that game though, this is a secret. So right. Dan, don't tell it. Who's watching this? Dan, don't tell anybody I told anybody about this. Next year, in May-ish, late May, early June, we're doing a gaming camping trip.
Right.
And Don and I agreed that DSR is officially kind of sponsoring it. So in the next few months, sometime after January, we're going to start putting this thing together. So if you feel like coming to Michigan in the early, not yet summer, late fall, late spring,
because this is going to be the new WayneCon, right?
That's saying too much. We might be filling in as a home for WayneCon right now because WayneCon is unfortunately on hiatus since Wayne has no place to.
Right. Yeah, because his wife rented out the space is all completely rented out.
Yeah. Well, they finished converting it into studios, so they had to, and now it pays for itself, so that works.
Right.
So instead, we're going to go into the woods and get drunk and yell at each other. That's my plan.
Yeah, my wife would be still pissed off if I did that because I'd be camping and role playing.
Does she like both of those things?
She loves camping. She does not care for role playing. She does it for me, and she does all the editing, and she does my art and stuff, and it's awesome.
She can still come. It'll be fine. She'll work out. It'll be good.
And she contributes a lot to it, and whatever. But
you must ask no more of her.
Camping, and she has to drag me tooth and nail to go camping.
I don't know if I said something similar, but I could say something similar of my situation.
She likes camping. You don't like camping.
Yeah, and I would be on probation if I'm like, I'm going to do this thing.
What? So now you're not coming? Damn it, Don.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Okay, you can bring Rachel. It'll be fine.
Yeah, she'd love that.
Mm-hmm. She will. It'll be awesome. We'll go canoeing and stuff. It'll be great. We'll pretend it's a role-playing event.
That sounds awful like LARPing.
And we don't know LARPing. No. No one will be wearing elf ears while they're canoeing. That'd be dumb as hell.
It's funny how arbitrary that line is, though.
Really is. We're not drunk. We're LARPing Vikings. Well, hey, we've managed to cover our subject matter. How about that? Isn't that great?
That's good.
In a good amount of time. I think we're good. We got the first hour in. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Gorgeous listeners, thank you for joining us for this.
Are there any?
If there aren't any now, there will be when we release this as an audio podcast.
Yeah.
There are several people watching us, two of whom have left comments that we're going to ignore.
Nice.
Yeah, because they're not about us. They're about the thing that I was just talking about. ladies and gentlemen, or gorgeous listeners, thanks for listening. Jason, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure to actually finally meet you, man. I've been admiring your work for so many years. It's really cool to put a voice to the to the name. Yeah, Mike.
Thanks, man.
It's always fantastic to have you here, sir. It was one of those things, like, I realized I hadn't talked to you in a while, so it was like, let's get Mike on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
I haven't had a chance to talk to you in a bit. And Don, my lovely co-host, thank you so much for doing the things you do, man.
You're welcome. And thank you.
Yeah, before we go, I do want to say also a quick thank you to some of our patrons on Patreon. How do you say it?
I say Patreon. I don't know.
Patreon. Yeah, Patreon.
I always, being Polish, I put the accent on the penult, so second to last syllable. That's how we do. So I want to thank. I'm going to mix this up. I'm going to go backwards. I want to thank Tim Callahan, Mythford, Kevin Nelson. Sorry, Kevin. I didn't mean to screw that up. Or Keith. Holy shit!
Oh.
That wine is doing its business. It's Keith Nelson. Sorry, Keith. I'm an ass. You're welcome to hit me if you see me at a convention. And Forrest Gary. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting us over on whatever you want to call it. Have a wonderful evening. We really appreciate you being here with us. Night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
That was great. All right, so
yeah, you just let me keep going too, you dick.
So
you don't jump in. You just let the boat sink. I see how you are.
So hit stop at this point, and you're going to want to export it.
You want it as an MP3, right?
I can use an MP3.
Okay.
Is there a format you prefer?
I usually ask for waves, but they can be a biatch.
I can do wave. Do you want 32 or 16?
Just 16.
The signed 16 PCM?
Yeah, I usually have to convert yours anyway because you send me like a single channel.
Well, I'm sorry, not all of us are perfect.
I know.
No. I don't have permission to save in this location. What? Oh, never mind.
Oh, all right. Yeah, the 16-bit PCM is fine.
All right, doing it now.
So I have to edit metadata?
No, you don't have to do any of that.
Okay.
Cool.
And I'm going to use this time to go to the bathroom.
So it's break time for a moment here?
Yep.
And these take, this is going to, my computer is still figuring out how long it's going to take.
Yeah, it'll take a while.
Okay.
There will not be LARP at DrunkCon, and it's not DrunkCon, it's IronCon. Jerk. Oh, we're not that podcast, man. We're not that podcast.
I hate that podcast.
I don't even know what podcast it is, but we're not those guys. That's not us, man.
I think it was. Oh, it wasn't Jank. It was some other one.
There's a podcast called Jank.
Jankcast. That's actually okay. They just spent too much time talking about what they're doing and what their friends are doing at certain conventions. It got boring. No, you know what? It was the first year we did the Swords and Wizardry Appreciation, and they did like part 2, and they're just belching into the microphone the whole time.
That's classy.
And I'm an uncouth motherfucker, but I couldn't handle it.
Are you? You don't really seem that uncouth to me.
I'm pretty uncouth. You get a more refined Don.
That's good. I'm glad I do. I'm grabbing Jason's book.
Oh yeah.
So
how many pre-orders were at?
12. Oh shit! I didn't talk about the shirt at all. How'd you let me do that?
Because I didn't think it was relevant because this won't be out for weeks.
But
we're pushing it up because it's a Kickstarter thing in October, aren't we?
Yeah, and the shirts will still be available.
The shirts will be available.
Well,
do you still want me to introduce this thing?
Yeah, I thought about how to do this. So what we're gonna do is I didn't figure out how to actually do that. So what we're gonna do is instead I want to start off with a conversation between you and I.
All right.
And then we're going to introduce the other guys.
Okay.
And because I have this hypothesis.
Okay.
Not so much a hypothesis, but this thought that Don, I think a lot of times you exist. And I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna say it further.
All right.
I'm gonna save this. And I'm gesticulating with Jason's book.
Yeah. What? Don exists? What are you saying? Some metaphysical nonsense going on here?
I get into the metaphysical nonsense. That is my bailiwick right there.
Yeah. You're like what's that word? You're like a philosophy major or something.
Oh my God.
That's what I said the first time around. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, I can tell. It drips off you like
there's two different there's
how does philosophy drip off him?
They're the same word, but they mean completely different things.
And now for the special part of Drink Spin Run, watching Mike Evans eat a fudgesicle.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah.
I want that fudgesicle right now.
You should just do a live stream every day.
More slowly.
I know. I would have if I had a
slower
right now. I'd be making hand over fist.
Yeah. You should do it in a diaper, and
and then
and just let it drip on you.
Right. Take care to maintain the fudgesicle mustache.
Accents each week.
It'll be great. I'm telling you, you got $1 million idea right there. Hey,
speaking of ideas, how about this idea? Oh, we're still live.
No, well, yeah, but
All
I can't pause that.
Yeah. So this stupid sweatshirt I bought at Gen Con.
Mm-hmm. It's a good sweatshirt, just the back sucks.
It's so huge, but what if I'm going to scan the LOTFP? I already told you this, didn't I? I'm going to scan it and make a big batch pack.
I'm the one who told you to make a back patch. I gave you the back patch idea.
Adam and I can't even say back patch.
I said back patch 3 times, not 4. I can say that word. What I can't do is end an episode. That's the kind of drunk I am.
All right, is this the shirt that he was releasing that was like so offensive he wouldn't put up pictures of it or whatever?
Yeah.
What is it?
I'm not gonna tell you, Mike.
You dick bag.
The back says because fuck you, that's why.
In giant fucking letters. Where is anyone gonna wear that item?
To work.
Yeah, to work. There we go. Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of personally insulted.
Sure you are. That's why you.
I thought there was more to that.
No, he wasn't showing it off before he sold them. It was like, oh, hey, so what is on the back? Is it this amazing picture that's in your Gen Con? Anthony says, I'm going to wear it everywhere. I don't know. I'll sell it to you, Anthony.
You still bought one, though.
Well, because I asked after I bought it, I'm like, oh, so what's on it? Is it this amazing Gen Con program thing, you know, with the chick and the blood and the skeleton? He's like, oh, I guess I can show you since you bought it. And I'm like, oh. And I didn't want to be uncool and say, are you fucking serious? Where the fuck am I going to wear that? So I'm like, oh, cool. Ha, ha, ha.
James, we still love you. Don't let Don's frustration dissuade you from our love. He doesn't. It's all right.
Watch.
Yeah, that's okay. He likes being on the show, but he doesn't watch it. That's okay.
He's fun.
What can we tell that guy anyway? What can we do for him? Nothing.
Yeah, I know. We're small
milk
potatoes.
on his computer.
We're small potato.
So when it's go time again, do I just hit record again and it will create a new file, or do I have to do
No.
that?
So Don's gonna walk in through this.
Yeah, close it, because sometimes when you just hit play again, it'll like overdub and play back while you're recording the new one, and it's really
Frustrating.
It's just yeah.
To you, the person who's using it, it can be frustrating.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, for real. I would totally sell this, Anthony. It's a 2X. Never been worn.
Oh, just snuggle with that shit.
Just made this face out of a lot.
I need more beer.
All right, get your beer and then come back. We got to start this thing up, man.
We're burning sleep
minutes.
time.
Yeah.
People like to
Sleep?
sleep.
I don't get
Fucking
to
Evans gets up at the butt crack of before dawn.
Me too.
I was gonna say, man, be ready for me to text you at the early hour.
Don't do it.
Adam, where are you in the world?
Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Don and I are both in Michigan. We are right now probably about a mile and a half apart. We both live in Ypsilanti.
Two banners and they have two on now.
Oh, Rachel's talking about sports. It's baseball. Yeah.
I was wondering who Rodriguez might be.
And there are two on.
It's just the neighbor. It's just. Dan Domi wants to know if either of you guys are thinking about going to UConn this year.
Unfortunately, all my money is going towards Hawaii, then Gen Con is the next goal.
Yeah, my con dance card is full.
Where are you, Jason?
I am in Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right on the lake.
I'm a funny guy.
Oh, nice.
Do you happen to know Ray Case? I know he's
from
that area.
I'm sorry, who?
Ray Case. He's
I said a
friend of ours.
I do not.
No, okay. Fun guy. Just not a fun guy to have on the show.
And so, did I ever say make sure to close that assay and reopen?
Yeah, you did that.
All right,
yes.
good. If we're all ready to go, I can.
Let's rock, man.
All right, so I'll cut you down again.
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, gorgeous listeners! Welcome to another episode of Drink Spin Run. I am one of your two co-hosts. I am Adam Skevich, and with me, as always, is my fabulous co-host, Don Stroud. Don, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
So, I want to talk to you about something that I perceive as a little bit of like, I want to say dungeon paralysis on your part. Is that okay? This is almost an intervention.
Dungeon what?
Paralysis. Like this is almost an intervention from the way I look at it, but not quite. Don, you like the crazy literature. You like the good, the Vance and the Smith and all of the strangeness, the Howard and all of that. I feel like you kind of are afraid of like skirting that point where things get weird, man. I think you're afraid of pushing it over. You don't go too close because you're afraid of it going over the edge and just getting silly and goofy and stupid. How would you feel about that?
Sure, maybe.
You think that's a thing that I've noticed this in you, my friend.
Yeah.
In the several years we've been podcasting and gaming together and stuff. I feel like you don't want to get up to that precipice because you're afraid of going over.
I'm afraid of being too silly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're afraid of going over, like, and then the game just becomes silly and stupid, and we're not doing anything interesting anymore.
Sure.
Does that sound?
Don, we're not.
For the sake of the argument, yes.
Because we want to hurt you.
No, we all care about you very much.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to introduce our fantastic guest for the evening.
Mm-hmm.
You know him from the Dungeon Dozen. You know him from Zagorian the Hippogriff Lord. Did I get it right?
No, but you don't know me from that anyway. But yes.
No, you probably don't. I mean, you know him from this thing. The Dungeon Dozen is the thing you probably know him for, or the fantastic images on G Plus and everywhere else. He's worked on so many other stuff. But Jason Sholtis is here with us tonight.
Hey,
howdy!
Happy to be here.
And I want you in a little bit. I want you to tell us about Operation Unfathomable, because I really think that gets up to the edge.
It probably plunges quite over the edge. But we'll discuss that.
I think for Don, we got to know where that edge is so that we can figure out, how far is too far. You know what I'm saying?
I say forget the edge.
Forget the edge. I like it.
Just go.
There is no edge.
Yeah, the edge is an illusion. Also with us from the Wrath of Zombie blog, Hubris campaign setting, and a bunch of other stuff is Mr. Mike Evans. Mike, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing amazing, guys.
How weird do you plunge headlong into the silly, or do you like stay this side? Do you embrace that as like a counterpoint to what you do, or is it a canary in the coal mine?
I'd say 90% I go right off the edge, and then even the things that I try to not go off the edge, it still fucking goes headlong.
So Don,
I'm like, I'm gonna be serious.
This is the crack team.
No killer clowns.
This is the crack team I've assembled to convince you that edge, not a bad place to be. You can go right over. Jason, you soon have Operation Unfathomable coming to Kickstarter and going to be released eventually. I've seen illustrations for this thing for years, little snippets of like text accompanying those, telling us a bit about what's going on. Can you give us, I don't want to say so much a pitch, but more like the kernel, the essence, like what is it at its core?
Oh gosh. Well, it started as an adventure that I wrote for Matt Finch's Knoxville magazine back in the early days of the OS and the R. And I wrote it as a convention game. So with the parameters of a convention game being a one-off, the edge doesn't exist. It's there are no long-term campaign ramifications for however silly things become in that the 4 hours or whatever you've dedicated to playing that particular game. And then I went against my own advice that I wrote into that original module. and used that to launch a campaign. And so things progressed from there. And in that most natural kind of the product will be something that reflects adventure material that was born in the crucible of actual play. So I mean, it worked for me. You know, this is the thing for Dawn. I mean, I don't know if this approach is for everybody. The spectrum of game stuff that's out there is so broad, you know, that it kind of there's something to represent every kind of style going in, and I guess it is kind of a style issue of how ridiculous and silly you are willing to be in a game and whether that works. It worked for me. 4 years later, we're still playing the same game that was kind of based on this foundation of fairly silly gonzo stuff. It started off as a gonzo fun house, kind of using the parlance, and then became rationalized as time went on. So it is internally consistent, you know, even though it does go into the gonzo. Anyway, the adventure itself is, you know, basically a keep, some borderlands, and kind of this vast underworld that is beneath it.
What's unfathomable?
Well, the cosmology of the setting.
So by saying Operation Unfathomable, to me it says that there's a mission, there's a
well, that's true,
or an objective.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that will be presented as an option. In the convention scenario, there's a very clear-cut objective of plunging into this underworld, which is a place, it's an other world, you know. You don't just go down into the dungeon, you're actually making a transition into another phase of reality. Not unlike entering into like Hades. You know, there are godlings running amok and doing their own thing down there. It's all rationalized by the existence of chaos, as not as a like a philosophical concept or whatever, but as like an substance that like preceded, like in Gilgamesh or whatever. You know, everything was chaos, and then order came from that. That's kind of the cosmology of the setting. So in at the heart of the world, in the center of the earth, this substance is still kind of churning away and you know, burning out its remaining energies in a kind of a half-life fashion. So the closer you get, the deeper you go into the planet, the crazier things become, and the more physical laws become suspended or are muted or are suspended down there. So that is kind of the central rationale for why weird stuff happens. And the deeper you go, the weirder it gets. Yeah, please go ahead.
I want to ask you a couple questions about it, just because, you know, you said a couple of things and it gave me a couple of thoughts that I want to explore with you real quick. I like the idea of dungeon as like an other space. Like we talk a lot about the dungeon as a mythic underworld, but that myth doesn't have to be one we've heard of before. You know,
sure.
And I like that, the idea of it as another other space. In saying that you get into the dungeon and now you're in this different place, like where reality is different. Is it important to have like a normalcy outside of that to contrast with it, or does that is that contrast like jarring? Or does it depend on your group and your players and all of that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly true. It depends on the sensibilities of everybody involved, I guess. Mm-hmm. But in the adventure, as we'll present it, there will be a more normal surface world, a slightly less. The whole thing, yeah. The conceit here is that the wilderness adventure that takes place on the surface is still influenced by the presence of chaos as a substance affecting the living. In that this area was originally covered by glaciation that suddenly retreated, and it exposed these entrances to the underworld that were previously unknown, and those entrances leak chaos, and godlings and other creatures from the underworld have access to the surface world where they didn't before, and as conversely, the surface dwellers have access to the underworld in this area. So they do interact. So it is a weird wilderness area above, but not as. So that contrast does exist. Is it jarring necessarily? No, I think once the players became accustomed in my campaign, became accustomed to this, making this transition from surface world to underworld, it became just a normal course of affairs.
Well, it sounds like my next question was going to be like about like a threshold or buffer between like the fantastic elements and then the more real or attainable, or easier to grasp stuff. That doesn't really seem like, it seems like you had that, but you deliberately, like you're removing it from the setting, and that's the point where everything gets picked up, right? Is when there is no more glacier separating this fantastic underworld from the humdrum everyday existence above, right? So my initial...
I mean, in my campaign, it's even the surface world is not particularly humdrum or mundane, but it is a step down from the high weirdness of below, of the underworld.
Don, I want to talk to you for a minute.
Talk to me.
How you doing there, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
You don't feel bad that I'm singling you out, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, you're used to it by now. Got it.
Yeah, I'm used to it.
How do you feel about what Jason's been talking about? I mean, like, I'm not saying necessarily like in your how do you feel about every little detail he said, but in your own games, I know you've been playing a lot more DCC lately. You've been running that. You've been using the monsters have been coming from the random esoteric creature generator for old school games and their modern simulacra.
Nice.
Oh, I did it. It's the first time I've ever gotten that right. I did not practice either. Except every other episode of the show.
Right.
So that seems to me like it's a little bit weirder than you normally would embrace.
3 years ago, maybe. Because I mean, to me, it sounds very much like, almost like Moorcock, like very Elric, or
what is
even
what's the it that you're talking about here?
What did you ask me?
No, you were talking. I didn't ask you anything. You said it seems very much like Moorcock.
Oh, you said, man.
The whole lawn chaos business.
Right. No, were you asking me how I felt about what Jason is doing?
Well, sort of. I mean, like I was more talking about you've been obviously pushing your boundaries, and I applaud you for that. I don't care what your boundaries are. If you're pushing them, I'm happy. And you've been using that random esoteric creature generator. I don't even say the whole thing. And that seems to me to be a little bit weirder than you might have done a few years ago. I mean, I know you tend to have this very world design perspective, like make things internally consistent before we throw any adventure into stuff. I mean, but then you're like throwing this element of just pure randomness at that.
All right.
How is that for you? Like shaping. I mean, is it shaping how you're doing things? Is how you're doing things shaping how you use it? How's that coming out for you? How's that shaking out for you, man?
I see what you're saying now.
Thank you for paying attention. Now it's good.
It was a combination of drinking and attention. Yes.
Yeah,
so you're basically asking me how. Man, yeah. No, I mean, it's fine. It's adding a nice. Man, I don't even know. I had so much ready to say, and then I just fucking lost it. I'm gonna edit myself out of this whole.
Not gonna happen.
No. So kind of, you're asking where I am. I picture it as a sliding scale, right? On one side, you've got, do you want to call it Gygaxian naturalism?
Sure. That's what you tend towards, right? Is the Gygaxian naturalism. That's where you have traditionally tended towards.
Yes, and then that's kind of morphing into, yes, of course, there should be some sort of ecology, but also, like, the scale can kind of slide towards the mythic underworld, if we will, and not make as much sense. Basically, I just let the players think what they want, right? I'm not even designing shit anymore. I'm just like, hey, here's something that happened. Sure, it's weird.
Really? That's where you're at. So you're heading headlong over that cliff, is what you're telling me. You're kind of in free fall right now. Is that what I'm hearing? You're like, you've gone off the cliff and you're just going to enjoy it. You ride this out.
To a certain extent, I don't even know. I think so little of the game that I'm actually running.
Oh
no, not.
Wow.
I don't think little of it. I just don't think about it.
Oh, okay. You spend so little time thinking about it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Got it.
So are you using this esoteric creature generator at the table, or is that something you're doing in prep?
I definitely do it in prep.
It's a little hefty to use.
Yeah.
Oh,
but it's not giving me anything like crazy. Like, it's giving me a lot of weird insectoid giant things, which I'm fine with.
So can we talk?
If you want to
Go
put
for
a
it,
little
Mike.
bit more horror base into it, use Tyrannic Tome.
Use what?
The Tyrannic Tome by a friend of the show.
Oh, yeah, Raphael Chandler.
Yeah.
I actually don't have that. I
You
do
should.
have...
It's
your edition. It's built for your edition, man. It's 1E.
Yeah. I have the, what was the other monster book?
The one for Lamentations.
Yeah, with Jennifer.
Lucis of Turai.
Yeah. I have that. Yeah.
I like both of them. I actually prefer Tyrannic personally. It's less colorful, it's darker. But when I started writing Hubris and started throwing monsters from that into it, it scared the shit out of my play.
So, Mike, you joined this conversation right when I wanted you, because when I look at Hubris, I'm going to tell you, Hubris has exceeded my hopes for it.
Hooray!
I don't say that just because you're my friend and you're on the show and stuff. Like, I'm seriously impressed with it. I really enjoy what you've done. I saw these two dudes having a conversation about Hubris, and one guy says, yeah, but I just want to make my own campaign worlds. Like, if that's your reason for not buying Hubris, you do not understand what Hubris is, right? Because Don's generating random monsters. Hubris is generating a random fucking world for those monsters to be in, right?
Right.
So, man, I've got a point here to make that is not making itself apparent to me. Do you know what it is, Mike?
So it's got a toolkit application as well as a setting.
Yeah.
Well, that's really what it is. The setting is the toolkit.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's all the stuff in the toolbox. Have fun.
Yeah, I like when I designed that, I wanted to design something that was taking these things that were influencing me, but not make it a Bible. And that this is my special, unique world, and this is what I want. I wanted to give ideas and then allow the GM and the players to say, fuck it, this is stupid, let's scratch this out and put this in instead, or whatever. But I wanted that whimsy and that sense of gonzo in there. So like a perfect point is, so like one of the territories I have is Lighted Sand. It's fucking terrible. It's inspired by things like Dune and Dark Sun and, Conan the Barbarian. And you can come across skeletons that are having a tea party. And and it's fun watching the players what do they make of that? So, like, I wanted that kind of whimsy and gonzo in there, that they're used to things trying to eat their face, but now they come across a skeleton having its teeth part, and they try to figure out what's going on. And that writes its own adventure.
Okay, so let me ask you a couple of questions about that. Do you feel that the major utility of the gonzo elements is that it forces people to think about things in a manner that they're not used to thinking about them?
Yeah, I would. I think it takes convention and puts it on its head, like you're unaware of it. Like to kind of quote Zach Smith on something a while back, he said that one of the scariest things you can do is just put a single pedestal in a room and a piece of cake on it, and that's it. And watch what your players do. And I thought that was an interesting approach, because it could just be a piece of fucking cake, and they'll freak out about it. Why is the cake here? Who put the cake here? Why is it so fresh? And they get into the minutia of it.
Bring it on, man. Where's the rest of it?
So,
okay. Go ahead.
So, I appreciate how gonzo can take something that seems so possibly mundane and turns it on its head. And then it encourages the players to think in a different way than what they normally do. Simple things like, okay, traps. We all know traps. We've been role-playing for X number of years. Traps are always the same, blah, 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 trip it, roll it, whatever. But if you start introducing gonzo into traps, and that it challenges the way they think, I think it engages the players on another level.
Okay, so give me a gonzo trap that you feel would engage, because I'm going to be honest, I'm having a hard time envisioning a gonzo trap, but that's just because I'm on the spot. You've done it, so you tell me about it.
Like one I would like, just trying to come off the top of my head, I would say trying to do one like with, trying to think of one I did recently a while back. One that I did a while back was with bees, and you had bees in the room, and they had gone into a dungeon, and the bees started stinging the person who was the least drunk in the group. And so for them to figure out the trap and to get out of it, they had to start imbibing alcohol, but then that also impaired them in the dungeon. So it was like I tried to come up with a different way for what they had to do. And it wasn't just like, oh, we kill all the bees, because there's tons of bees. But if they get totally inebriated, they get totally inebriated, the bees don't sting them, but now they're fucked up in the dungeon, and now I can warp their sense of reality.
Okay.
Another thing I would say that I would take, like, for something everyone's seen, like, and if you haven't, I won't say spoiler alerts, but like Stranger Things, right? You could do a kind of gonzo trap with like Christmas lights.
Okay.
Here's an example of gonzo. I don't know if this would qualify as a gonzo trap, but kind of the way that I've approached traps as a trope in Operation Unfathomable is one encounter. Spoiler alert. Is with a creature or entity called the Googlepede, which is like an infinitely long giant centipede that is cruising from a hole, an aperture in one wall in a cavern corridor, and into another wall, or into the opposite wall, and is just trucking like a freight train across this passageway that presumably the players would like to advance across. And it's just moving. You don't see the head, you don't see the tail. It's just continuously cruising through at this high rate of speed. And it's about 4 feet tall, with the legs scrambling. And it presents you with an obstacle that is weird, for one thing, and requires you to figure out a way to get over it. Whether you're gonna, a group that I had playing down in at the North Texas RPG Con. Most of them were athletic and decided to vault it, and plenty of them had success. Some of them got entangled in the legs and slammed up against the wall. Sustained some damage that way. But if you take any kind of aggressive action against the this surging, stampeding centipede body that's going across the hallway, you stand the chance of getting it'll throw a coil around you and then drag you down into this hole. Game over for you, Anyway, that's an example.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So I've got a question that I think kind of builds on the idea of these Gonzo elements and how they work in the game. Dan Domi wants to know, how do you steer towards the weird, off the wall stuff and still have players invested in the game rather than getting all dismissive of that things are getting silly? I would also say, to kind of add to that, like. It's hard. It can be hard to take a silly game seriously, or to get invested in a thing that you think is being dismissed as nuts. I don't know. How do you guys do that? How do you create that kind of involvement on the player's part, or help facilitate involvement like that?
Simple force of personality. I mean,
that's how I do it, man.
Is it fun?
Yeah.
Right.
It's a short answer, but I mean, I think it's true.
No, I agree with that. I think that it doesn't matter as long as your players buy in on some level and we're having fun. My time is limited. Our time is limited. Let's just get together and have fun. This isn't high school anymore where I have 16 hours to run a game. But I find that having some sense of mundaneness in, like when I was running Hubris and when I'm running Barbarians of Ruined Earth, when I'm running that, it is highlighting some of the mundanity of the world that then contrasts that Gonzo. So there's still that grounding there. And that makes it still more magical or different. And then getting your players to care about it or whatever, I find that watch them and see what characters they latch onto. See what NPCs they really like. And what aspects of the world. And then kill them.
Good answer. Good answer.
Like, there's a reason why Hubris was a high octane meat grinder. And I mean, it wouldn't kill everything, but the way I find it is, like the way I approach Hubris, the way I like settings, is so many settings are just fucking tons of fluff, tons of history that the players don't give a shit about. And they don't care about 1,000-year-old wars. They don't care about emperors. They don't nothing.
I totally agree that is a difficult buy-in there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. They don't. None of it. Have I ever experienced a player that gave a shit about any of the fluff personally? In the 16 years that I've been playing a game, they do not care. But you put a hobo thief that steals their horse. They will track down that thief across the entire planet seeking vengeance. And there's
maybe something you can take from that is like make things personal.
Right.
Like whether that's the death of a favorite NPC, the theft of a horse, or just any kind of little thing that the players themselves would latch onto, rather than the characters from the point of view of their long-standing history, blah blah blah, whatever.
Right. And give it a few sessions, like rope them in other ways, but then watch them as they're constantly enjoying, the gong farmer and having a great time with him, and then suddenly he develops black lung liver failure, and now they have to go get the witch's spleen, and so you rope them in that way, and then you introduce this Gonzo adventure to save this person that they like.
I think you should introduce the Gonzo Avenger.
Yeah, the Gonzo
Hey, can we spend a second just talking about that word? I want to talk about the word gonzo for just a moment, because it is something that I feel gets applied. I mean,
It's too bad.
I'm a big fan of Thompson, right? So, and he's the guy. He's the guy, man. That's his word. That's his thing. Is gonzo. I often worry that it's not being used like correctly. Now you guys are clearly guys who I trust with that word because I know what you've done. I've seen what you do, and I very much think that you guys use it in a like, I don't want to say respectful, but like an ideologically I don't have a good word here. Like,
try not to dishonor the memory of Hunter S. Thompson.
But part of the trying not to is like not trying at all, right? Right. There's an intuitive nature. There is a genuineness, I think, to what actually makes Gonzo Gonzo, because it's an experiential rawness that I feel expresses itself in a disregard for traditional order.
Yeah.
Because we're concerned about the experience that's happening at the table. We're concerned about the player's experience of the game. We're less so concerned about, like Mike says, our and like Jason points out, are often jarring massive amounts of history. I mean, those DMs who become DMs so that they can write the Silmarillion this is not the same kind of thing. This is a more genuine, raw experience that's focused on the game at the table. Is that how you guys? I mean, is any of that something you guys can latch onto or get behind?
Yeah,
I think you're getting onto something there. I mean, the idea that everything is to be interacted with, regardless of how perhaps ludicrous at that moment it might be, but it affords opportunity for people to get involved with the game as it's unfolding. That I don't know if I can finish that thought. Let me pour some more wine.
Yeah, there we go. See if Charles can help you.
What Jason just said is, I agree. Like, Gonzo to me has to be intimate.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be there. Like, the Gonzo Empire far, far away is not Gonzo.
No.
But the thing in front of you that is impacting you and eliciting an emotional response and maybe even uncomfortability, that can be Gonzo.
Well, Mike, you said something earlier that, like, I think is treating Gonzo with the proper, I don't want to say respect, because, I think Gonzo has a problem with authority like that. But, like, that treats it in the right way is that it's something that the players latch onto that spurs them to move forward. If you look at Thompson and the way he went about journalism, like his thought that the Gonzo journalism was to move forward into the story, where the point where the reporter stops being someone, an omniscient like observer, and becomes part of the story. I think that kind of tells us a little bit about how to use those elements in gaming, right? Like you hit that nail on the head when you started talking about like how to motivate players, because I think that Gonzo that doesn't motivate players isn't Gonzo, it's just silliness.
Well, and right. And there's a difference between Gonzo and whimsy, and I think a lot of time people confuse the two.
Yes. Yep. I agree.
Oh, I put pink bubbles in a dragon's mouth. That's Gonzo. No, that's whimsical.
Yeah. I agree. I'm just wary of the use of the term Gonzo for that reason. I've seen so many people. You drew the line where I think it needs to be drawn. They say Gonzo and they mean whimsy.
Right. Well, and I think because people are struggling with solidifying the ideology of it, which at the same time, if you solidify the ideology of what is Gonzo, the point of it, is it really Gonzo?
That having been said, I think there's a couple of common elements that work. when you guys are writing or prepping for a game that has Gonzo characteristics, how much time do you guys spend actually like prepping, like writing out stats and planning what's going to be there? Because for me, it's exceptionally little.
Right. I don't spend all that much time. I kind of just get a base structure because I don't want to be a full dick about things and just make it up on the fly. But I want like a loose structure. But that's why, like with Hubris, I wrote so many tables and charts and whatever, because I wanted to be able to also be surprised at the world and what happened, not just by with my players, but by what is generated.
Jason, how about you?
That's something that's kind of written into Operation Unfathomable. Like NPC encounters and even monster encounters will have like a random chart that will tell you what that creature or person is up to at that particular moment, and what their relationship might be with other factions or creatures that are down there as well. So if so desired, the dungeon master or GM or whatever can be as surprised as the players as to what's going on. But of course, it can also be used. You can also use that list as or the chart random table as a guideline to choose how you want things to unfold as well. So that randomness can occur either in prep or at the table, depending. I can't help but to prep, but for me, prepping is like wandering around doing whatever I'm doing in life prior to game time, obsessed with what might happen and attempting to forecast what turns the players might make and whether they'll zig or zag, and try to think a few steps ahead in that. I can't help but doing it, which is why I'm like into this gaming in the morning thing. Mm-hmm. Which I've been doing kind of with the Bewilderlands campaign. It's like at 8 in the morning for me. So I actually don't have time to obsess all day, because otherwise it would like a game time of 6 in the afternoon or whatever. That whole day I'm just wandering around projecting into the possibilities, which is a form of prep. You're thinking ahead of what they might do and what might unfold from that point. So I kind of like actually waking up early with a fresh, clean palette and nice. Surprising myself. So either way, I mean, it all depends. It's situational.
So when you find yourself
the prep thing,
when you find yourself prepping, what kind of stuff do you? I mean, like, how do you find yourself? Like, I guess I kind of do the same thing that you're talking about. That's my type of prep, where I'm going about my day normally, and I think, oh, this would be a fun thing, and I just kind of mentally note it and put it aside. I'm not like scrawling tons of notes or anything. I mean, is that what you're doing? Are you like writing notes, or are you like making the mental notes?
Well, I have to do that because mental notes for me have a lifespan of about 5 minutes these days. But so yeah, I will take notes and stuff. But like the actual prep will go into like a location-based adventure. If I know that they're probably going to storm the gates of the keep or whatever, then that kind of implies that I have to know what's in.
Have a keep. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Try to have some vague notion of what the keep might be like.
Vague notions are kind of a lot of what I do. Don, this conversation is a lot of fun. How are you feeling about it? Are you getting things out of it? Are you? You've been quiet again, so yeah. I want to know the thoughts that are happening in Don's brain.
Well, do you want to know my real thoughts, Adam?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I want to know your genuine thoughts.
Genuine thoughts.
So we were talking about
what's that?
You think I'm dumb for bringing this up?
No, I hate to pull aside the curtain and show behind the scenes. But when we were talking about the topic, I was like, oh, yeah, I can do this. I've taken enough mythology, anthropology. I know what we're going to talk about. So
and
then
now we're in a completely different direction than where you thought we were going.
Well, yeah. Because I was like, oh, let me Google, Mythic Underworld and make sure we're on the same page. And I had no idea the history of the term in the OSR, and that was kind of interesting to learn. Like, I know people throw it around, and I understood the concept. Like I said, mythology.
Right.
I understood the concept. I was like, oh, this is just from this one thing, and like all these bloggers were like, yeah, they tossed it around like a volleyball. It was interesting to get kind of peel back the. I love that we have a record of this, like on the internet.
Yeah.
And you can just follow the little breadcrumb trail.
Did that lead you to like? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I was just going to say we've kind of really touched on nothing of that, and it's kind of been talking about the gonzo-ness of the mythic underworld, which is kind of interesting. We do keep on coming back to gonzo on this show. Go ahead, Jason.
Oh, just did your studies lead you to the internet
Delta?
handle
Delta? Or
Philotomy Journey?
Yes. Jace is his name. Jason Cone.
Yeah. Which is interesting. I mean, that's kind of. I think he coined the term. I'm not sure if that's.
It seems to
true.
point to that. Yeah.
In the history of the
OSR at least. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm totally down with the campaign that you were talking about, because it's reminds me a lot of Clark Ashton Smith, the Seven Geeses. Do you say Geeses? Gaius?
Gesh. I believe it's Gesh.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, yeah,
there's like
I
an
looked it
Irish
up one time.
pronunciation,
That's the Irish pronunciation.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally straight up that. Like as he went down through the layers, eventually it was just this primordial birthing of these odd chaos children. So, which to me is not gonzo at all. I'm just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. There's a reason. Of course the center of the planet is chaos. Well, how would it be anything else?
Well, so when it's chaos, though, that also, the veils between the realities are more permeable. So you may, a spaceman might be down there. That's where the gonzo elements come in.
Yeah, there was one point in my life where I would have been like, oh, spaceman in my fantasy. No, but I've come a long way.
And now he's playing DCC.
And now I'm playing DCC.
I think that you have to have some at least gravitation towards gonzo to even play DCC, because your wizard can fail a fucking spell and have his head turn into a chicken.
I don't know necessarily that's the case. I mean, I think to a degree. Well, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that
it's
whimsical?
on the silly spectrum somewhere.
Well, it's still it's silly. It is silly. That is still more whimsy than gonzo.
Right.
But I definitely think that DCC took a lot of inspiration from more gonzo influences.
Definitely.
If you look at their Appendix N.
Do you know what's really silly about this situation, though? If your player character's head was a chicken, to not act like it was a big deal every time he went into a tavern or any place else. Like, that's what would kind of make it not so silly. Like, holy shit, I've got to get rid of this chicken head. That's a serious thing, right?
Right.
Like, if, I got a chicken head. Like, players can laugh it up. And that's kind of the problem I'm having with DCC sometimes, is like, oh yeah, it's just the funnel, it's temporary, it's silly. Like, this is silly.
Well, it implies a world where you might walk into a bar and people just say, "Oh, there's another guy with a chicken head."
There's another guy with a chicken head, right?
Yeah, another cock.
Yeah. It's funny in a way. So yesterday when we started playing Barbarians of the Ruined Earth, one of my players is playing a sorcerer, and he's got yellow skin, purple hair, stone for fingernails, and stunted teeth, and lava lamp like eyes. And they roll into town, and I kind of described the villagers being afraid of him because everyone's afraid of sorcerers. And he asked, because they're not used to this kind of campaign, and he said, well, how long is this going to last? And I'm like, for fucking ever. Like, everywhere you go, people are going to be afraid of you because they're afraid of the sorcerer. And they don't know you. Maybe your deeds will be sung and you'll be the golden sorcerer or whatever.
Or
This is
maybe
something
you'll
you have
find a
to
way
overcome.
to undo the shit, you know?
Right.
I think that one of the neat things that and Don touched on this, and you're touching on it too, Mike. I think one of the things that like the inherent weirdness of the DCC system, one of the things that it does for us is make us think about the consequences of stuff. I mean, if you cast a spell and you get a chicken head, well, maybe you should have been fucking around with magic, you know? Magic
Right.
is a big, awful thing that we shouldn't just take for granted and say, I get to cast 6 magic missiles a day, pew, 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 you know?
Right.
That, to me, is the big strength of DCC. I know a lot of folks look at the randomness of that stuff as like, oh, this is bad. But you can mitigate that so much by making your wizard make sense,
Right.
you know?
Or you can challenge it in like this. Some people cry this is a dick thing, but it also makes it interesting. Like make magic illegal.
Sure.
And so magic is illegal. So if you show signs of being a wizard, and you have like tentacle hands or a chicken head or pig snout, like how are you going to disguise yourself to survive in this world because you're dabbling with something that's illegal?
Yeah.
This stuff also implies to what degree you, or to what level of, I guess, seriousness you're to take your character. If you're,
right.
I don't know if Don, if that's your.
Don is not
problem.
a characters or special snowflakes guy. No.
Oh no.
No.
No, I mean, I do want.
That's a barrier for some people. I
Yeah.
think is that you have like there's a higher degree of risk. There's a higher degree of your character might not turn out the way that you had originally hoped. You might end up with a chicken head, whatever that is.
I mean, I totally think that does mess with some players. Like they really have an idea of what they want to do, and then they're really bummed out when they die or when they get like. I've never had anyone get a chicken head. Is that an
it'd be
actual,
more merciful to kill them.
Right? Yeah. Is that an actual like thing that can happen? I know tentacles and eyeballs, like all kinds of cool gnarly stuff. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, some people don't like that at all because they do like you want them to have their what's it called? There's a word.
Agency.
Thank you. I'm like jumping ahead to my next thought before I finish my previous one. But you also like, yeah, it's a risk reward. It's like it's built in the system. Hey, you can cast this more than once a day, but you're going to have to deal with this if you go too far. So I think I love the way it is. I wouldn't change it. To answer Dan's question, is it worth playing DCC? Is DCC worth playing without wizards? I don't know.
Is any game worth playing without wizards?
Probably not.
Seriously, no. We need some motherfucking wizards. It's wizard
We need
time.
wizards. It's
Seriously.
wizard time.
It's wizard time.
I'm sure Wayne will appreciate that.
It can't be
There you go,
wizard
Wayne.
time
I
all
dropped
the
your name
time.
like you asked me to.
True.
That's what the other days are for when I'm not gaming. That's the not wizard time.
So travelers off the table.
Yeah.
It's never wizard time.
That's sad.
You guys, psionics, maybe.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you go.
you got
Space
psionics.
wizards.
All right.
I'm down
Point
with
taken.
space wizards.
Yeah, space wizards.
Space wizards are actually one of my favorite kind of wizards. Hey, this has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. This shaped up better than I was afraid I was going to.
Oh my god.
So, Don,
Tell me.
how you feeling? You feeling good about this?
I'm feeling fine. I'm not afraid of the precipice. There's, well, you know what? Yeah. I stay away from whimsy. I stay away from silly.
Yeah.
I'm all about Gonzo to a certain extent. I still think there's an element of genre hopping. If you hop too far, then that's Gonzo to me. Like, I don't want to bring up Sugar Skull again.
I wasn't inviting you to. It's okay. I mean, you
wasn't
can.
too. It was just too many genres hopped. Me, I love some sci-fi in my fantasy. I love horror.
I think that the thing there was I didn't prepare you for it. You know,
Maybe.
like you weren't expecting, or you had.
No
There
one
was no
expects the
YN
sugar
color.
skull.
Exactly. No one expects Senior Sugar
I
Skull.
love Senior Sugar Skull. He's one of my favorite weird
Yeah.
dungeon things I've ever done. But
Clowns.
Don was not.
Do not throw clowns in my
No,
dungeon.
no, thanks.
No.
David Beatty, I love you, but
I
no
mean,
clowns.
I bet that adventure is awesome, and I do plan on picking it up, and he should be on the show.
Yeah.
But
He's friend of
clowns, no. No clowns in my
Clowns.
mythic underworld.
I
But
might
now I
actually
wanna
draw
make
the
it-
line at clowns
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, but now I want to make it work. Like, what if?
How can I get a clown to make sense?
Yeah, Pratchett did clowns well, right?
I know how it would fit in mine, so I got it now. Of course, the Shroom Sultan has to have a court jester of some kind, right?
That's true.
It just makes sense.
Hmm.
Andrew Moss is asking good questions that I don't want to get to because it's like way off topic. So sorry, Andrew. We could talk about that at another. I think that's a decent topic for a whole show. So we're gonna hold that one. We don't have firm dates of when Jason's Operation Unfathomable is coming out or going to be
It's
on Kickstarter.
nebulous right now.
Hey, you let us know so we can make sure that this
Yeah.
episode is out in time.
Yeah.
Good.
Hubris is still chugging along. Mike's going to have that ready for us soon. How far out do you think we are from
Hoping
the end of the printers?
by beginning of October.
Hey, awesome! That's great.
Nice.
Man.
Nice.
So we might have that product in our hands, well into the third season of DSR. That'll be cool.
Nice.
Yep.
You guys. I'm all fired up to run something, but I'm freaking dead tired right now. So, congratulations, you
Well, that's
tipped me over. Yeah.
That's the point.
All right, well, let's just get started right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's go. 3D6 in order. Let's
I
go.
worked 12 hours today.
All right. But I do think it's that time. It's that time of night where we're gonna have to call this one done. And I want to thank you both for being here. Mike, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Jason,
Thank you guys again. I appreciate it.
Jason, it's fantastic to, like I said last time, it's fantastic to meet you, get to actually talk to you.
Oh.
You are both welcome back anytime you guys want to come on.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
you're like,
Thanks
hey,
very
I'm
much,
bored
guys.
next Monday. What are you guys doing? And we'll work you in.
Right on.
Yeah.
We'll also work you into the rotation of people that you decide to contact at like 5 o'clock and record.
Oh wait, aren't I already on that?
You are that
Check my
guy.
text.
Tim Callahan's off the list, man. He he got himself off the list, and because he got a real job.
He's a grown up now.
Oh,
He's a super grown up because he's the boss
yeah.
of the teachers. He's the teacher boss man. He's a principal at his school, so he can't do like gaming cool stuff for a while. He's
yeah.
got to be the public face of education.
Time for one of them fancy internet handles.
Yeah.
That's what I told him.
Like
Kim Tallahan.
Smellahan.
Okay, well, you guys have been great. Thank you so much for being here. Don, my love.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for being here with me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the rest of our shout outs real quick. I want to thank our fantastic patrons over on Patreon: Michael Jones, Victor Garrison, Steve Siggety, Eric Telvola, and Dan Domi. You were there the whole time. Thanks, Dan. I also want to remind all of our listeners that you can pick up the new kick-ass DSR Narcolich t-shirt designed by, is it Matt Warner?
Matt Walters.
Matt Walters. Fantastic design. It looks so cool with the green ink. Like I was
Yeah.
worried that the DSR wasn't going to be super legible, but then we did it in green ink, and now it looks so
really
cool.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can find that on gum.co/DSR Narco. And those are available for pre-order while we're recording this, and by the time you guys get this on the the regular release, it'll be available normally. So head on over there, pick one of those up, support this podcast if you choose to do that. Thank you so much for being here with us. Everybody have a wonderful evening.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Okay, and I am trying to click this